Welcome back to Movie Summary. Today we are diving into a film called One Night at McCool's. The movie starts with a car arriving at a place. A man steps out, his name is Randy. He gets inside, and sees many old men playing bingo. He searches for someone. He finds the man he is looking for. His name is Mr. Burmester. He tells him a coded message and sits in front of him. Randy says he brought the money. Mr. Burmester tells him to keep it quiet, that he is dealing with a professional. We are then shown Carl, who is in a meeting with a psychiatrist. She asks why is he here. He reminds her how successful he is. She insists, and he tells her he is here because he has this thing going on with a woman. We then see Detective Dealing, who comes to see a priest. He needs to talk. The priest asks if it's a woman. Both sits and he is ready to tell him about that woman. Meanwhile, Randy tells Mr. Burmester that he has never done such a thing before. He is stressed, and has his reasons for doing this. Not long ago his life was just going fine, but then he met her. One night at the bar called McCool, even his cousin Carl was there. Randy was working as bartender. When the bar closes, Randy and Carl are having a great conversation. Randy tries to tell him it's time to leave. Carl wants to go to an after party. Randy pushes him outside. Randy is finally alone closing the bar. He steps out when a car with a screaming lady pull up. A girl is screaming for help and Randy runs to save her. Her name is Jewel. The car then drives away. Randy is memorized by Jewel's beauty. After helping her, he leaves, but she calls him, and asks me what is he doing right now. She is scared of being by herself. He says he is going home. She wants to come too. They arrive at his house. Jewel is impressed he owns a house. She looks around and sits down in a hot way. She says her favorite thing is in the world is making love. Randy spits his tea, as well as Burmester, who is listening to the story. They then make love. Randy then tells Mr. Burmester, "You have no idea what this woman is capable of." Meanwhile, Carl is talking to his therapist, and reminds her that he is control of his life, not like the clients she usually get. She asks him about the woman he mentioned. Carl says it started one night at McCool. His wife took the kids out of town, so he decides to go see his cousin Randy he haven't seen in a long time. Out of nowhere he saw Jewel walking in. He felt in love. He stayed late at the bar hoping she would come back. Once he was leaving the bar, Carl saw her arguing with a guy. He decides to relax in his car for a little bit when he hears all that noise. He saw Randy saving Jewel. We see her trying to expose her breast a little more. We then come back to Randy and Jewel. She is crying. She says she really likes him, but she is doing this thing with this guy that he saved her from. She reveals to him that it's a trick. They both pretend to fight. A stranger saves her, takes her to his house, and the guy shows up to rob him, in this case to rob Randy. "We rob you," she says. Randy looks outside of his house. She says she is supposed to call him and tell him where they are. Randy says, "Don't call him. His name is Utah." Randy goes to put some clothes on. When he is back, Utah is in the living room with a gun. He tells Jewel, "Why didn't she call?" Unfortunately, there is not much to rob, as Jewel points out. Utah then starts to make fun of Randy, for how broke he is. They then go to the bar. Utah wants Randy to open the register. At this moment someone shoots Utah. We are shown that it's Jewel who shot him. She felt something special for Randy, because she actually never made love to the other guys she did it with. She asks what are gonna do now. He wants to call the police, but she says she will go to prison. With her pretty eyes, she convinces him to say that he shot Utah. She cleans the gun and put it in his hand. We then hear Detective Dealing saying, "It all started one night at McCool." He is inspecting the crime scene. Randy is going over his story. Detective Dealing says it's great citizen like you that makes my job easier, while putting on his note that Randy is lying. Jewel is there, so he wants to interrogate her as well. When she shows up, his whole life changed. He is memorized by her beauty. We see him telling that story to the priest, while Mr. Burmester is shocked by the story. The boss of the bar then screams at Randy because people will believe their bartender is a killer. He fires him. Once home, Randy sees Jewel ironing his clothes and thinks it's too fast. A delivery mattress arrives, done by her. Jewel isn't happy with his behavior, so she gets mad, ready to leave. He tells her he lost his job. She then tells him his cousin Carl called. They are invited to his house for a barbecue. Carl never invites him, so Randy is curious. Why now? At the barbecue, Carl compliments Randy on Jewel. It's getting uncomfortable when he asks dirty questions. At lunch, Carl keeps on looking at Jewel, while she explains her dream house. Carl makes fun on Randy's house. Carl's wife doesn't find his jokes funny. He is just rude. At the end, Carl hugs Jewel a little too long, and tells Randy to finally buy a car. The next day, Jewel shows up with an old car belonging to her friend, she says. Someone then knocks on the door. It's Detective Dealing. We see the detective telling the priest that after that night at McCool, he couldn't sleep, couldn't concentrate, couldn't eat. Something inside of him said he had to see that woman again. When he arrives, he heard them arguing. He believes he was sent by a higher power to save her from him. He finds her way more beautiful than the first time he saw her. The detective then starts questioning Randy again. Jewel brings them beer. Randy yells at her. The detective then tells the priest, "How can our creator put such a bad man in a relationship with such a divine creature?" During the interrogation, he couldn't hear a word he said. He was only thinking about her. When he leaves, he is shocked as he sees Jewel washing the car. The detective is hypnotized. Meanwhile, Carl doesn't understand why he invited Randy for barbecue. The therapist believes it's because of Jewel. In his memory, he remembers seeing her through her clothes and just imagining. He describes her so much that the therapist says it's enough. He remembers looking at her, and imagining his wife and Jewel getting close together. After the barbecue, Jewel tells him, "Let's get together sometime," and licked his ear. Randy then keeps telling Mr. Burmester the rest of the story. Randy was watching a lot of TV. Jewel comes back and is disappointed that he still didn't find a job. She is the only one that works at a store. She then says she spoke to his old boss at McCool. He gets mad. She says she is going out with his old boss tomorrow night. And she adds that while she is out with him, Randy has to go to his house and steal everything of value. Randy doesn't like the idea. He doesn't want to do it. But that same night, he did just that. He went to his old boss' house and stole a bunch of stuff. Randy still wonders how she talked him into doing that. The couple then go to work. I'm taking care of the house with the stolen stuff. But one night will change everything and put the plot into something no one could have predicted. They do IO to rob a very rich guy, and from there the seducing and got Jewel will turn Randy, Carl and Detective Dealing over the head in a crazy finale you won't see coming. Check out part 2 attached here. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check our other movies summaries.